Real quick, what's your wife's name?
Jamie.
Jamie?
Jamie, yes.
Jamie's walking around, sees a house that needs some work, brings you back an address. You go online and get the phone number in like 2 minutes, call them up, and it equals $115,000.
Hard to believe, but that's the truth.
Isn't this? There's a saying that you can create excuses or you can create success. And that is absolutely true. Every single day we have the opportunity to go out into our community because the fact is there are people that have personal problems with their property. And guess what they're looking for? They're looking for people to go and solve their problems and take that off their plate. People are having personal problems with property every single day. We have the opportunity to go out there and solve that problem. And that is what leads me to my guest today, who started out in this business, built a ton of momentum in 2020, 2021, 2022. And then, like so many of us, things changed in the middle of 2022. The techniques that we used no longer were as effective. And so you can either create excuses or you can create success. And it is my pleasure to bring on somebody that created success out of those shifting tides. JP Carino from Sacramento, California. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you on here.
Thanks so much, Brent. It's truly a pleasure and an honor to be here. It's a dream come true.
Awesome. So you started out in real estate in 2020, right?
That's right.
Things were rocking. So what brought you in and kind of what was giving you that initial momentum? You know what I mean? You start something new, you're kind of feeling a little bit, like you're a fish out of water, and then all of a sudden you're able to kind of build some momentum and some traction, some success. So what did the first, kind of 90 days, 6 months in the real estate industry look like for you?
Yeah, so good question, Brent. So I started out as a realtor, believe it or not, kind of parallel to you, right? I got my realtor license during COVID in 2020. And not gonna lie, starting out, as most realtors know, it's a tough gig. And I didn't do so well my first year. I had about 7 months of just pounding pavement and trying to build business. And actually, my first deal ever was a handout from my father and my mother-in-law. They were selling their rental, and they gave me a shot at it. And I scratched and clawed my way through that transaction. That was my first one. After that, it started to getting a little bit easier and started to get a little bit more traction, do some more deals. But I didn't really catch fire on the retail side, so to speak, as far as the realtor stuff goes. And just by coincidence, I was introduced to wholesaling by one of your students, Stefan Lindstrom. And he introduced me to wholesaling, and he even forwarded me your YouTube channel. And that was actually the first video that I ever watched on wholesaling. And the first video got me hooked. And after that, I just decided, hey, I'm gonna give this my best shot, and I'm gonna educate myself as much as I can, and try to put some action behind it.
Awesome. So what were you doing to pay bills during the time of the build-up, during the time? You know what I mean? Like, did you just have a bunch set aside? Were you working another job? Like, how did you live during that time?
Yeah, so during that time, I had to have a little bit of savings, but it wasn't much, to be honest with you. And if it wasn't for my wife, thank the Lord, having a great job. She was my sugar mama for that time, so she has a great job with the state. And so that's nice and stable and steady. And she gave me the flexibility to, try to go go make something out of nothing. And to add on to that story, Stefan actually opened up a Keegley franchise, believe it or not, in San Francisco, and he brought me on as acquisitions. And so I was able to really learn the ins and outs while I had that experience and learning underneath him. And my very first deal that I ever did was an on-market deal. It was in Berkeley, California. This thing was I thought it was a teardown, but someone wanted it. I came in as a backup offer and landed it, and I ended up closing it, and it was $1.2 million. I got paid as an agent and as an acquisitions, and I made about $32,000. That was the most money I've ever made in one sitting at one time. And that was it for me. I was hooked. I told myself, I'm never going back.
Well, a couple different things there that I want to talk about. I have some friends out of Texas, and they do a phenomenal strategy out of Texas where they look at all the properties that are on market, and they don't go after any properties that are listed for sale. They only go for the properties that are under contract. What they do is they put in backup offers on all of these properties, and then they communicate almost like they have the deal, just to make sure that when and if a situation arises where the transaction gets a little bit shaky, a little wiggly with the buyer that already has it under contract, they're there in backup position, and which is completely legal. This is completely ethical. This is completely, this is a known strategy in real estate that you can take backup offers in case the first one falls out. And they end up getting a tremendous amount of deals, putting in offers on backup, putting in backup offers, even though they're way below some of the offers that were accepted. Because in the mind of the property owner, they're already moving. They're already making their plans to transition away from this property. And so it's a really interesting strategy. And if anybody in the audience or anybody that's watching this on YouTube is experimenting with this, make sure you put it in the comments section, or make sure you reach out to me and let me know how that's going, because I think it's an interesting strategy. I think it's really cool. And that's exactly what you were able to do there. Not only did the original buyer fall out, right, and you were able to get that deal for Stefan and his Keegley franchise, but you were also, because you're licensed, that's the second part that I wanted to mention, because you're licensed, you were able to get the commission on that. So you can double dip on these deals that you put in backup offers on listed under contract properties. So for everybody out there, that is your tip for the day. I mean, we're not even 10 minutes into this conversation, JP, and you're like opening up the floodgates of opportunities for everybody out there. So I love that. But that's incredible. So you got in, and a couple months in, you were able to get that first wholesale deal. And then you realize, holy cow, there's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of opportunity here to go and find discounted property, whether it be on market or off market. So absolutely incredible. So, the question I have for you is, and we had talked, before in preparing for this podcast, you had talked about how your first generation, you born and raised in Sacramento. Your family came here from the Philippines, and you have this opportunity, right? You have this real estate opportunity. Why did you decide to go down this path as opposed to other things? Because you've been in sales, you've done dental sales, you've done cannabis sales, you've done all sorts of different industries that aren't really linked to real estate. So how did you find us? How did you find this beautiful path of finding discounted property, which we know is the most proven path to financial freedom?
Well, that is such a great question, Brent. And, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that book years ago, and it was always, since I read that book, I always wanted to own rental property and make passive income. That has always been something in the back of my mind, whether it was, saving up to buy it. I always had that thought. Now, I never realized, or I never had an inclination to be a realtor and do this kind of full time. I thought that I would have a job, I would have a W-2, and that would kind of be my retirement, so to speak, my my passive income on top of my W-2. And I hate to say that I was just kind of searching for something. In 2020, I had gotten out of cannabis, and then COVID happened and everything was shut down. And I kind of, had a moment on trying to figure out what's the next step. What do I want to do? And I kind of had that thought about real estate in the back of my mind. And I said, if there's ever a time to go for your real estate license, what better time than now when there's nothing to do. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. And so that's when I took the plunge and I got my license.
Let me ask you this. Do you read a lot of business books? Do you read a lot of personal development books? Is that how Rich Dad Poor Dad, fell into your library?
Yes. I, back then that was kind of I was referred to that book by another friend of mine. I wasn't a big reader back then, but I'd say since coming into real estate, I'm like nonstop reading. Or podcasts or Audible or anything like that. I'm addicted.
Well, it's incredible. I mean, and especially if you're reading a biography or you're reading, some of these incredible real estate investing books that break down certain deals, real life examples. It's like getting years of experience packed into a few hours of reading. Now, it's not like real instruction most of the time, and it's not like real. I mean, it's certainly not going to give you the experience, but you can live vicariously in those books. You can see the seeds of instruction, the seeds of what actions to take, and then you can start implementing it and start getting the experience that you need. And really, and I say it all the time on these podcasts and on the YouTube channel and on our support calls with the Rhino Tribe, it comes down to having conversations and making offers. Having conversations and making offers. Conversations with people that own these properties or the people that represent the people that own these properties and making offers. And if you do that enough, you can't lose. You literally can't lose. And there's a lot of mystery involved in real estate because there's so many different ways to make income. But if you focus on going after properties, putting them under contract and selling those contracts to really start building up your experience, you end up being able to build an incredible business and then go and see all the different strategies that are available that you can implement into whatever it is to get that passive income. Is that your big goal, is to own a bunch of properties?
Yeah, I mean, the goal's a little bit shifted, I'd say, since now I'm actually in real estate and I know the ins and outs a little bit more. So, as far as buying and holding properties, that is definitely something that I want to do, but I need to build up my war chest a little bit more. So I'm okay in holding off on that for a while. And I've always thought single family homes were the thing that I wanted to hold, but I'd really, really like to get to the point where I can get into some multifamily commercial. I mean, I think that's where I want to go.
I love it. So smart. So talk to me about your business. How is your business structured? What are you doing for lead generation? What does your pipeline of opportunities look like now? Let's start there.
Yeah. Okay. So let me kind of give you a backstory. So when things were good and things were cranking, I had a 6-person team. I had 3 VAs. I had someone underneath me for retail. I had, you name it, I had it. And a lot of that has shifted. Since the market shifted, you got to learn to adapt. And I quickly found out that my overhead, my monthly nut was just way too high. And you don't really realize that when deals are coming in, but you learn it quickly when deals stop. When the deal flow stops, you got to make adjustments. And so now, I'd say since the start of the year, I've pretty much let everybody go. It's me and one other VA. Shout out to Joel out there. But
all right, Joel, what does Joel do?
So Joel he's my VA from the Philippines. He manages my cold texting platform. We have launch control, so he manages that. And just as far as 2 weeks ago, I now trained him on making on-market offers, and he's starting to do that too now. Yeah, and I Yeah, and I basically pretty much just handle the dialer. I handle the dialer, and I'm on the phone all day long.
You're just making the calls.
Yes, I'm making the calls, and he does pretty much, the first initial call, just calling and see if there's any interest there, and then I close the deal on any deal that he brings in.
Awesome. So for anybody that's just getting started out, it's really important that you filter down all the properties in your community into the most likely people that want to trade price for speed and convenience. These are the properties that have problems. Just like I opened the show up with, people have personal problems with these properties. And so if you were, I'm going to put you on the spot here, JP.
Yeah.
If I said you could only call one list, one avatar that you could call, who do you think, what list, what avatar do you think that would be? What's your bread and butter?
Absentee owners. 100% absentee owners, whether they're low equity, high equity, vacant, I don't care. If you're an absentee owner, I'm calling you.
What does that mean, absentee owner?
Absentee owner means you don't live in the house. You own the house, but you don't live in it. So you're either renting it out, or it's sitting vacant, or something's going on with it to where it's not your personal property, not your personal residence.
And how much of your business comes from texting and then how much comes from calling?
It has shifted over the last start of the year. Most of the deals previously were coming from text. Now that I'm on the phones again, I'd say it's 60-40 the other way around. 60% coming from from the phone calls.
Awesome. And that's just you, all the way through?
All the way through.
You're you're setting the appointments, you're comping the properties, you're reviewing everything that's going on with the condition of the property and their timeline to sell it and their motivation and their price. All of those things, that's what you're doing.
Yep. Start to finish, transaction coordination, dispo, acquisitions, the whole thing.
So do you feel like you build a stronger relationship with the property owners that you initially call versus the ones that come in after your VA, Joel, or does it not matter?
100%, because, not knocking anything against Joel. I love him. He's really great at what he does, but I've been in sales for a long time, and, one of my strong suits is building rapport in a quick amount of time. And so if I'm able to do that right off the jump, I seem to find that the rest of the transaction's a whole lot smoother, because that trust is built right away to where, even when we're in the deal close to closing and maybe something unforeseen comes up, they know and trust that you're going to get the deal done. And so it makes it easier on the back end.
And what did you learn from having 6 people on your team to now having just you and Joel? What do you think the big lessons are there for the audience?
You don't need all the help that you think you need. That's it. Yes, I'm having to do a lot more of the work, but I'm finding that a lot of the steps that I was having to teach and having to coach and having to work through issues aren't there anymore. So, and if anybody's out there who's just starting off and is maybe thinking about adding more people onto their team, I would say really take a look in the mirror and see if you can push it a little bit more, and see if you can take on just a little bit more until you absolutely can't. Because I bet that if I can do it, then I bet you can too. And there's easiest is not always best, and anything, in my experience anyway, anything that's worth working for is you got to put in the time. You got to put in the work.
I love it. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And there's an incredible book called Who Not How. And I think that this is really important for our business, because you can hire people that have incredible skills. You can hire people that have better skills than you do at the certain roles. Ryan Thornton, Chad Coulter, Jeremy Thornburg, Jackie Thornburg, in my company are way better than I ever was at each part of what they do. Way better. But they came from with no experience, but they had experience in the role that I wanted them to play. And because of that, I was able to plug them in, give them the tools to be successful, which really means just give them the verbiage and the process, and then kind of throw them in deep water and let them, really get the experience fast. But I'll tell you, you can find people that are really good, that have experience being acquisition managers or disposition managers or junior acquisition or lead managers, whatever it is. And you can bring them in and pretty quickly get them up and running. Because one of the things, and I'm sure that you notice this, JP, is when you bring in people and you have to really train them and really, manage them, it takes you away from income producing activities and your business takes a financial hit. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And that, and to your point, that is definitely one thing that I have focused on, even more so when I joined the tribe, is income producing activities. And by that, if anybody is wondering what those are, a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this myself. When I first started, you want to focus on everything else but making those calls. And for instance, I want my business card to look a certain way and I want this and that, none of that stuff matters. Get some deals in, make those calls, make those offers, and all that stuff, all that fluffy stuff, that nice looking stuff, that'll come.
That's it. Well, let's put you in the hot seat. Let's break down a deal so that we can ring this victory bell.
Yes.
I know that you closed a outstanding deal. I'm excited. I'm excited for you to break this down because this is going to get everybody pumped up. But go ahead. I won't. I'll shut up and let you.
Yeah.
Let you break this thing down.
So, oh man, this deal was great. And it came to me, this is a blessing from God. My wife and I both work from home, and every day my wife, on her lunch break, she goes for a walk out in the neighborhood. And this time, she, for some reason, just had some addresses that she found, the houses that looked like they would be good flip homes. So she went ahead and on her walk, she sent me a couple addresses and wanted me to skip trace them. And that's what I do. So I just typed it in and I was able to get a hold of a seller. The seller inherited this home from a brother that had passed away 2 years ago. He's been holding on to this home for 2 years, not knowing what to do with it, just continue to pay the bills on it. It still has a mortgage. He has to go over there every couple weeks and mow the lawn and take care of it. And he was so happy that I called wanting to buy it from him. He gave me the offer. He gave me the number that he wanted right away. And it was by far below what my idea was, right? ARV for this house was around 550. 550.
ARV means what?
ARV is after repair value. So after you fix it all up, make it look nice and pretty, that's how much you can sell it for. There's a comp right on the same street, sold a month ago for $575. Now I had a bedroom bigger, a little bit big over a lot, so I kind of reduced it down to $550. He said straight out of the gate on our first phone call, give me $275 and it's yours. $275
and it's like 50%.
50%. So, not trying to get too excited. I said, okay, I think we might be able to make that happen. When can I come see it? He said, why don't you come right now? I went down there, did the walkthrough. I said, hey, yeah, everything looks great. And then he proceeded to tell me this. It's got a new roof. It's got a new HVAC. It's got a new AC. The windows are already done. There's no foundation issues. All the main things that we as flippers look for, they're already done. So it was basically a real basic cosmetic flip. So I was actually going to flip it myself and do the work. And I was making plans to do it. I had contractors go over there and with bids. And I just got an idea. Well, let's see what I can wholesale this thing for, and if I can make enough money, and maybe I just wholesale it and not have to swing a hammer or go through any of those things. And was able to find another wholesaler who bought it for so I bought it for $275. He bought it from me for $390.
So $115,000.
115,000 buckaroos.
Real quick, what's your wife's name?
Jamie.
Jamie?
Jamie, yes.
Jamie's walking around, sees a house that needs some work, brings you back an address. You go online and get the phone number in like 2 minutes, call them up, and it equals $115,000.
Hard to believe, but that's the truth.
Isn't this? Listen. Well, first of all, listen to this. Hold on.
Yeah.
Listen, this business is that it is that incredible. It is right. I mean, holy cow! I'm feeling as you're telling this story. I'm just envisioning you on the phone, and that dude says, "Give me $275," and it's yours. And just the thought that must have been rushing through your head. You know what I mean? I mean, Dolph DeRue said this, and this is one of the early mentors that I had in the early 2000s. He said the deal of a lifetime comes around about once a week. I think he said the deal of a decade comes around once a week. But, I mean, $115,000 from one conversation, and the guy wanted you to go there right away. Right away. It wasn't like you had to follow up with this lead for 6 months, a year. We're closing on a deal this week that we initially talked to the property owner in 2020. When you started this business was the first time that we talked to it. 3 years later, we're closing that deal. You went over and it was like 3 hours from the time that your wife went on a walk. I mean, absolutely incredible. I'm so happy for you. I mean, and it happens like that, right?
It does.
It's just this happens every single minute of every single day. Somebody's getting a deal like this. An opportunity is coming around because people have personal problems with property. They do. He's been paying the bills on this thing forever. For 2 years. Mortgage, insurance, taxes, upkeep. Oh man, I'm sure as soon as he closed, he was like, "Oh my gosh!" A relief rushed over him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Incredible.
He was so he has a sister, I believe, and his folks are still around. And he was set as the sole executor of the estate, so all the pressure, all the responsibility fell on this guy, and he was ecstatic to receive that phone call. And I couldn't be happier.
Unbelievable. So now what does it look like? What does business look like now?
Yeah.
The momentum. How do you wake up the next day after closing that and still be motivated to go out and take action and grow your business?
Well, I'll tell you what. It definitely relieved a lot of pressure from off my shoulders. But if anybody knows me, I'm a guy that wants to go get the next one. I don't rest on my laurels, and I want to go out there and okay, I got 115 today. Let's go make it 200 tomorrow. Let's not rest on it. Let's keep grinding. Let's keep pounding the pavement because 1 is great, 2 is better. Right. So It's always about getting to that next level. Obviously, 115 is a huge pay, more money than I ever thought I'd make in one check. Especially for the minimal work that I did, but it's one deal that's great. Let's make it consistent and let's do it over time.
That's it. Absolutely incredible. JP, for everybody that wants to reach out to you, maybe they live in Sacramento, maybe they want to squat up with you and connect with you and network with you and from around the country, they just want to reach out to you and you've inspired them to get going. How can people reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach out to me. I'm on mainly Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram handle is real JP Carino. That's Carino. Just my name on Facebook, JP Carino. Reach out to me, connect. I'm happy to squad up. I do deals here, obviously here in Sacramento, California, but I'd say a majority of my deals and my business is in North Carolina. On Eastern North Carolina. So Jacksonville, Wilmington, Fayetteville, a little bit of Raleigh out there. So anybody doing deals in North Carolina, please give me a call. Let's squad up.
Awesome. Absolutely love it. Congratulations. What about people just starting out? What advice would you give them?
If anybody's starting out, I would say this. It's not all rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. This deal is great, but be prepared to put in the work. Be prepared to have days and months and weeks that aren't just going to go your way. It's an easy business, but it takes grit and be persistent and persevere, but don't give up on yourself. And if I had to learn anything the hard way, it's believe in yourself when no one else will.
I love it. Congratulations, JP. One,
Thanks,
you joined
Brent.
the 50K club that we have in the Rhino tribe, because I don't know a single person that after they have a check or a wire or basically a check or a wire hit their account of $50,000 or more, your brain changes. Your brain changes.
Absolutely.
You start thinking about money differently. You start thinking bigger, and then you start thinking, okay, you just closed, over 100,000. You're probably thinking, how do I get to 150? How do I get to 200? How do I do 250,000 on a deal? How do I do $1 million deal? These things all of a sudden start feeling real. Yeah. You've got the proof of concept that you can do big, amazing things because you did it, and it's just repeating it. And it's incredible. And you've got your marketing channels. You've got what I call cookie cutters, right? You got the cookie cutters because picking up the phone and calling and texting are like cookie cutters. They punch out the dough. You know what I'm saying? They punch out the dough. Sir. They really do. So absolutely incredible. Congratulations. Thank you for being on here, JP. Everybody,
thanks,
if you're in Sacramento, make sure that you connect and you network. And that's it. That's it for our show. Thank you for joining us. If you're interested in joining the most proactive community, the most proactive tribe in real estate investing, it is the Rhino Tribe. Go to wholesalinginc.com and check out what it is all about. Come join JP. Come join the absolute best, most successful real estate wholesalers from around the country. The community is absolutely incredible. The instruction is up to date. It is real. It is. My business in Phoenix is a laboratory for what's working, and then it goes out throughout the whole country, and it's absolutely incredible. If that seems like something interesting to you, take the action, set up a call. We look forward to working with you, and that's it.
Let's go Rhinos.
That's right. That's right, JP. On behalf of myself and the entire Rhino Tribe, I encourage you to go out there and talk to people. Till next time. Love you guys. See ya.